A unique blessing-sponsored event that honors those who've passed on returned for the first time in 6 years this afternoon. Hundreds gathered in Mormon Park in Quincy to remember their loved ones by releasing butterflies. WGEM's Claire Edlund was out there today and has more on the meaning behind this and why many find it therapeutic.
When the physical body of a cocoon shrivels up, the soul is released like a beautiful butterfly.
These dozens of families at Mormon Park all have one thing in common: loss of a loved one.
Christina McAllister, Julie McDonald.
And these are just a few of those hundreds of names of those that have passed on.
It lets our children know that even though they're gone, we still find ways to remember them.
These envelopes contain live butterflies, each representing a family member that is no longer with them.
A husband, a mom, a father, even a child.
This year we decided to do it the women in our family. My mother-in-law, my wife's grandmother, and then my grandmother as well.
They open the envelopes and set them free. Blessings Butterfly Moments is a way people can cope with loss and grief through a symbolic gesture.
It's one of those occasions that people can take the time to reflect.
Saying goodbye to a loved one is something many aren't prepared for until that time comes. That's why Blessing individuals want to raise awareness about hospice care at this event.
This care is all about comfort care and the quality of life, focusing on the quality of life.
And helping family members process heavy emotions.
One of the services of Blessing Hospice is also 13 months of bereavement services.
Understanding that grief is all part of the process. Claire Edlund, WGEM News, Quincy.
And the Blessing officials say this is the first Butterfly Moments they've hosted since 2020, but this is the 6th one overall.